Willkommen, and thanks for being here on our channel today. I'm Lee, and with my wife Betty, we are the traveling expats, and we have a question for you, especially those of you who may be watching from the United States. Do recent events have you thinking that you want to leave the country and maybe relocate somewhere else? Well, have you thought about Germany? And you might be thinking, Lee, why Germany? It's cold. I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere warm. But I have some reasons why Germany might be just the place for you. Number one, it's a really nice place. It's very beautiful, it has some beautiful cities, has some great countryside, it has rich cultural heritage, has a great history. There's lots of stuff to do here. It's in the middle of Europe, so it's very easy to get to other countries. You can go to Italy, you can go to France, all these other places, so you can travel a lot. It has a great healthcare system, and it also has a wonderful public transportation system. So you can travel around, and it doesn't cost very much either. So for 49 euros per month, you can travel basically anywhere in the country you want to on the German train system. So there's a lot of good reasons to move to Germany. It has a lot going for it, and we're going to discuss how you can do that today. All right, so let's talk about the type of residency permits here in Germany. And Germany doesn't have a specific retiree residency like a lot of countries in Europe does, but there are ways that you can retire here. All right, so I have this form, and I got this from what's called the Ausländerbehörde, which basically means the Foreigners Authority Office, I guess. And so they emailed that to me, and it's my application form to request residency in Germany. And so the reasons that you can request residency in Germany there are basically four that are on the sheet. And then there's another box for other that you can check off. So the four main reasons are, number one, family reasons. So, for example, your spouse already lives in Germany and you want to join them from another country. So that's basically family reunification. You can that's a reason. There's gainful employment. So someone's offered you a job and you have a job contract, and that's obviously a reason why you would need to live in Germany if your employer is in Germany. There's Ausbildung, which means training. And so maybe you're doing a training program, or also I think this would apply to like a study abroad program. Maybe you're doing university studies in Germany. You're getting your master's degree or something like that. So that's a reason why you would need residency in Germany. And then there's also humanitarian or political reasons. So maybe your home country is devastated by war or famine, and you want to request residency in Germany. So that's a reason, humanitarian reasons. And then on our sheet, there's another box, if you will, that you can check when you're applying for residency, and that one's called Sonstiger Zweck, or special reasons. And what we did, we checked that box and we basically just put retirement, and so that's why we want to stay in Germany, is retirement. All right, so now we're going to talk about the requirements that you have to have when you want to request a residency here in Germany. So basically, the basic requirements, number one, if you're going to retire, you have to have financial independence. And I also think if you're going to be a student, you have to prove you're financially independent as well. But so you have to prove you either have like significant savings or some sort of retirement pension coming in that can support you while you live in Germany. So they don't want you to retire here if you're going to have to live off their social service system. So financially independent, you have to prove that you can live on your own. Number two, health insurance. And this is a big one. And no matter what type of residency you're requesting in Germany, you have to have health insurance. And this is basically the German law that everybody who lives in the country has to have health insurance. So you either have to get purchase health insurance here in Germany through public health insurance or through some sort of private health insurance company, or maybe you have health insurance from the United States that covers you internationally, and if you can prove that it covers you internationally and that it's accepted here in Germany, you can keep your health insurance from the United States. But health insurance is a big one, and it is absolutely necessary if you're going to live in Germany. Okay, number three, accommodation. So you have to prove that you have a place to live. Whether you're renting, most people are going to rent either an apartment or a house, or if you bought a house. Some people like us, we own a house here in Germany. So you have to prove that you have a place to live when you're requesting your residency. And number 4, you cannot have a criminal record. Now, we've requested a residence permit twice in Germany. Once previously, it was for work because we both had jobs here. And that time, when we requested the residency, we had to request a police check. And I think we had to pay, it wasn't a lot, but we had to pay like 15 euro, I believe, to get that police check and to get that sent to the Ausländerbehörde. This time, so far, we haven't been asked for any sort of police check. But on the application, we did have to check off if we've had a crime or if we've committed a crime in Europe, if we've been found guilty of a crime, what the crime was, and the specific reasons behind that crime. Luckily, we haven't committed any crimes, so we didn't have to get too deep into that. But you cannot have a criminal record if you want to have a residency here in Germany. Now, as far as health insurance goes, now we have TRICARE health insurance, and TRICARE has different types of policies. It has policies for the United States, and it also has an international policy. So we're able to switch to the international policy, and that is accepted by the German government. We also have a friend who's retired, and she has Aetna, and Aetna also has a plan, like an international plan that's accepted. So just check with your health insurance company if you have one currently, and see if they have an international plan that you can use here in Germany. Now, previously, when we worked in Germany, at that time we also had international U.S. policy that was accepted by the German government, but our employer required us to get German health insurance. So we had to go through the German public health insurance system, and we had to pay for that out of our salary. So if you're going to work in Germany, even if you have American health insurance that is accepted in Germany, you still may have to you may have to sign up for German health insurance. So just be aware of that if you're moving here to work. All right, so let's talk about exactly what you have to do to request your residency permit in Germany. And basically, there's 5 steps, and we're going to go over each of these step by step. All right, so step number 1, you need to gather your required documents. So this is very important. You want to make sure you have everything that you need when you put your application in. And the first thing you have to have is a passport. So make sure you have a passport. You want to make a copy of that. So you have that on hand so you can submit that with your application. Number 2 is your proof of income. And this either is bank statements or proof that you have a pension coming in. So you got to have that proof of income. Number 3, we've talked about health insurance. You got to have your proof of health insurance, and obviously it has to be health insurance that is accepted here in Germany. Number 4, you have to have your proof of accommodation. So we talked about you have to live somewhere, so you make sure you have that documentation ready. Either that's a statement from your landlord saying where you live, or it's your proof that you purchased a home here in Germany. And number 5, you have to have a clean criminal record. So something to prove that you have a clean criminal record. And we were specifically asked for that the last time we applied for residency here. This time we weren't asked. We just basically had to fill in the form if we committed any crimes or been convicted of crimes in Germany. So we haven't provided a criminal record this time. And number 6, and this is something that you have to be prepared to do, is you need to write especially if you're going to retire in Germany, you have to write a motivation letter. Basically, what are your motivations for living in Germany? Why do you want to live here? And how have you been integrated into German society before? So, for example, we've lived in Germany several times over the years. So we just put, we have a pretty deep history in Germany. We have a big connection. We bought a house. And, why we want to stay here. So be prepared to write that motivations letter. And also sometimes I might ask for proof of your German language proficiency. So if you don't know the language, you need to start studying on it now, because it's something that's going to make your life so much easier if you know at least a little bit of the German language. Your motivation letter has to be in German. So like I said, start studying German now if you want to move here, even though it may seem like sometimes everybody speaks English. Obviously, in these formal government documents, you need to be communicating in German. Okay, step number 2. Now, if you are doing that, if you're starting this process from outside of Germany, you can go to or contact your nearest German consulate and basically tell them you want to seek residency in Germany, and they'll kind of give you some help and with that process. If you're already in Germany, then the second thing you have to do is you have to go to your local Bürgeramt, or basically that means your residential office, I guess, for the area that you live in, and you have to register your address. You have to do your Anmeldung, and so in Germany, every time you move, no matter how long you've lived here, maybe even if you're a citizen of the country, every time you move to a new address, within 14 days, you have to go to the Bürgeramt and basically register your address. You just have to do that. The German government wants to know where everybody lives, I guess. So that's just part of the process. All right. So within 14 days, you have to register your address with the Bürgeramt. And now 14 days, that might be easier said than done, depending on where you're living at. So if you're living in a big city that has a very busy Bürgeramt or residence office, it might take more than 14 days to get an appointment. So some places you have to make an appointment. And for example, when we lived in Leipzig, we had to get an appointment to register at the Bürgeramt, and you had to go online and wait till they released the appointments every day. You had to be one of the first ones to get there to snag an appointment. Now here, we live in a pretty small village, and I called them and I asked them, I said I needed to make an appointment. They basically said, you don't need an appointment, just come in during the hours we're open. So it's very easy. So depending on where you're living, it may be easy and it may be difficult. Now, when you go to the Bürgeramt to register your address, things you're going to need your passport. You're going to need some sort of verification of where you live. That's either going to be a statement from your landlord saying that you moved into this address on this date, or it could be your proof that you purchased your home. So you're going to have one of that. And if you're married and you're registering as a couple, you need to bring your marriage license with you as well to prove that you are indeed married. You know, it would make sense to just be able to use your rental contract, but you actually have to get this letter from the landlord stating the date you moved in. And I'm not really sure why that is, why you can't just use your rental contract, but you do have to provide that letter when you register with the Bürgeramt. Okay, so the next step after you've registered with the Bürgeramt is you have to apply for your residence permit with the Ausländerbehörde, which basically means the foreign administration office for foreigners living in Germany. And you go there, and there's a couple of different ways you can do this based on our experience. Now, 3 years ago, when we did this in Leipzig, and a lot of things were still kind of restricted due to COVID, you had to submit your documents, and basically you either mailed them through snail mail or you took them and just dropped them off. They had like a box, you dropped them off. And then you just put them in there and you kind of hope that they get to the right person, and you wait for a while to see what happens. Now here, 3 years later in our little village area, we were actually able to email everything. And they accepted everything, and they said, yes, we have it. And they forwarded it to the approving office in the bigger city in our federal state of Rhineland-Pfalz. So basically they're at Trier right now, hopefully getting approved. In Leipzig, we dropped them off at the office, and basically we waited, like 2 months. It was a long time. And finally, they contacted us and said, we have your documents. Everything's ready to go. We need you to come in 2 days for your appointment. So that's how it works. So depending on where you're at, things are going to be handled a little bit differently. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with the Ausländerbehörde, or the foreign immigration office. Okay, and so the last step is just wait for approval. Once you've submitted your documents, you have to wait for them to get back with you, and this could take several weeks. It might take up to 3 months. It could possibly even take more than 3 months until you hear something. So you just have to be patient and wait. And then eventually they're going to contact you, and hopefully everything is approved. You've submitted everything correctly, and they'll contact you, and they probably won't give you a lot of advance notice, but they'll say, you need to come in to this office on this date at this time, and do your biometric data. And you'll have to bring in your own photo. And that's something that's kind of unique about Germany, at least compared to the United States. Whenever you get like any sort of identification, be it a driver's license or anything else, you have to bring your photo with you. So pro tip, and this is from Betty. She says, go to a professional photographer and get your ID picture made. It costs around 15 euros. And basically, they'll give you like several copies. I think like 6 copies. And they'll also give you an electronic copy. Okay, and back to the photo. So one of our colleagues recommended this place to us, and we are not affiliated with them. We're not getting paid, but it's called Studio Line. And that's basically a photography chain, and they're located in several places throughout Germany. And you go in there, you don't need an appointment. You just walk in and say, hey, I need a pass build or a passport photo, and they'll make it for you. And you have to go in, you have to take that picture with you and provide that to them. And then they're going to take your fingerprints, they're going to get your signature, and you have to pay your money for your residency permit. And I think it's €100, but I could be mistaken about that. But you pay your money and then you get your permit, and those are usually good for around 3 years. Now, our work residency permits, I don't know why this is. Mine was good for 3 years, and Betty's was good for 4 years. I don't know. Maybe it's because she's prettier than I am. They gave her an extra year. I don't really know. But she had 4 years, and I had 3 years. All right, so going back to the requirements of things you have to prove, like I said, you have to prove that you could support yourself financially, right? So what is that number? Well, I mean, it's a little confusing because there is not a set number that, you have to have this amount of money to live in Germany. You just have to prove that you can support yourself. Well, and you might be thinking, well, what is that? What kind of number is that? So I would tell you that based on our experience, that the cost of living in Germany is much lower. It's considerably lower than the cost of living in the United States. But Germany, just like the U.S., it has places that are more expensive and places that are less expensive. So, for example, Munich in Bavaria is probably the most expensive city in all of Germany to live. We previously lived in Leipzig, which is a beautiful city, but it has a really low cost of living. So it's really nice. But I'll say this, as far as Munich being the most expensive place in Germany, if you want to compare that to the United States, our daughter lives in Seattle, which is a very expensive city in the United States. And I would share with you that Munich is much cheaper, has a much lower cost of living than Seattle does in the U.S. Just so your reference, so you kind of know how much money you need to live. All right. So, and as far as cost of living goes, if you're renting a place, the laws in Germany are very much on the side of the renter. So when you sign your lease, and let's say you sign a lease for 2 or 3 years, even after that time is over, when you stay in your apartment, it's pretty difficult for the landlord to raise your rent. So the law is definitely on the side of the renter, and rents in Germany tend to be much lower than they are in the United States. As long as just like shopping for groceries and the necessities of life, we find them to be much cheaper in Germany than they are in the U.S. All right, thanks for watching, and we hope this was interesting and useful for you if you're considering moving to Germany from some other country. We appreciate you being here, and we're going to keep you up to date as far as how our process goes, our request for residency in Germany. We'll let you know how long it takes and if it gets approved or not. Hopefully it gets approved, but you never know. Maybe it won't, and maybe we'll have to pack our bags and leave. But we appreciate you being here. If you liked it, if you liked this video, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the process. If you have any questions, you can ask those in the comments as well, and we will do our best to get back with you and give you the right answer. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.